what's the future for your organizations? Natalie, what role will IDB play moving forward in controlling and addressing violence? And Daniel, I'll ask the same thing of you. And Marcela, I'll ask you to sort of look into your crystal ball, although you're not with the administration anymore, and what can we expect from Trump in this area? So.
Okay, as we just been talking, addressing crime and violence is very complex. At the IDB, we have basically an approach in two areas. One is focused on social prevention, and the other one is the strengthening of the institutions, security institutions. Regarding the social prevention, we aim to mitigate basically the risk factors associated with the most vulnerable, generally youth, that they have risk that we basically borrow from the public health, which are individual, some at the family level, and others at the community. Regarding to the institution, I think this is the crucial part for us, and I think it's important that we have strong institutions that can implement programs. For example, in policing, while developed countries are more focused on strategies on policing, in Latin America we have to focus on something that I call the professionalization of the police. Let me tell you something. We started work on 2012 to reform the police of Honduras. Actually, at the IDB, everybody was thinking we were crazy. We're never in the most violent country with the most weak institutions. So how we can do something like that? I remember going to the police station and see that the building were completely old. Police officers just have few months of training. Payment was really low. So we decided that we have to start reforming police from within. So training was important, recruiting, who is the police, pay, the quality of work, and also the oversight mechanisms. So basically what we did, and I think this is an example for the rest of the region, is what we call the dignification of the profession. It's not to be the policing only a job, but a profession. So I think, and we saw the results. Now we see that Honduras is changing. Now, the police officers, they believe they have a future as being a professional in the police. So that is a quite very important example for us when we reform police.
I saw that speaking with police chiefs in Honduras about a year ago.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that. In the criminal justice, because we believe also it is important piece in this chain of criminal justice, we improve basically the efficiency of the administration and justice services. Today we have quite a lot of programs in what we call the digitalization of court records. And I don't know if you know, but many of the records and the justice records are on paper still in Latin America, so a lot of cases are lost. We are also strengthening the prosecutors' offices, basically helping them in the investigative capabilities. And finally, we are also working with prisons. I know it's not very popular for governments to work in prisons. Generally, when they think about reforming prisons is creating and building more prisons. At the IDB, we focus in the rehabilitation, in the human, and so they can reinsert socially and economically. We have two, and I'm going to finish just by that, I think as example of good projects in Panama and in Costa Rica, where our emphasis were more in the rehabilitative part than in the punitive part. So this is a center of rehabilitation in Panama. It's called PACORA, and I was impressed not only by the quality of the work and that they delivered there, but also for the sense of hope that they was given to those kids.
That's great.
They felt like, they have a future, they have a second chance. And actually, I visited one of the workshops. It was the painting workshop. And one of the kids told me, and I remember that very clear, I never forget. He said, if I could choose between a pencil and a gun, he would now choose the pencil. And in 10 years, I want to be famous. So what that shows us is that giving hope works.
Yes.
And
let's maybe leave it there.
And just to give it the evidence,
okay,
is that the recidivism rate, it was lower in this prison than the rest of the country.
Excellent. Excellent. Daniel, just a short answer about where CAF is going on this.
Well, I think the role of institutions such as ours is to help governments overcome the short-sightedness of political cycles. And in that sense, I think we can help governments overcome this discussion between programs or institutions, between prevention and control, and basically trying to help institutions think about how to deliver better services, and think about, I think the most important part of all of it is to help institutions, as I said before, transform their experience into knowledge. I think this is sort of the key to all of it, because ultimately what it will imply is that so the discussion between rigorous evidence that pulls you to programs, as you were saying before, is unnecessary if you think that what really matters is learning and not necessarily how exactly you learn. You can actually learn a lot by just having a very good description of what goes on. You can learn a lot by having a good quality focus group, for example. You can learn a lot, obviously, from a rigorous impact evaluation, from a randomized controlled trial. And the key is that institutions learn how to learn. This is sort of I think the basic point, because this will allow institutions to think about, question the way that they're doing things, try different things, and be serious about trying to measure as best as possible, right? Sometimes you won't be able to have a very credible counterfactual to compare something that you've done to, but that's okay. I mean, I think that what really matters is that institutions become learning institutions.
Right.
And that is what will allow them to overcome the distinction between programs, or the debate between programs and institutions, which is fallacious.
Right. So we'll stop there. Very briefly, what's going to happen in the area of USAID in this
Because
area?
Trump is also pissed.
I won't comment on that. Look, post-election, right after we all went through our coping mechanisms, going back to USAID, I think my message was clear that there are things with the mess that is Northern Triangle. I really believe that you are seeing progress. These could be failed states, and instead you're seeing improvements in governance, coordination among them, improvement in violence, and so there's a lot that is going in the right direction. And helping other countries and foreign aid is the right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do. So, and more so when you think about the things that the U.S. cares about, from stability, drugs, immigration, everything. It just makes sense. So my point to our agency was, we've got the data. It's important to continue to do so, and this is the time to be very forward with pushing the agenda and why. So we wrote memos, all with a little bit of national security bend, a little bit more than before. I met with every conservative think tank that existed, members of Congress, and just say, okay, we have to continue to do this. Now, we haven't seen a lot of evidence of, evidence-based policy making from the White House. But I think this is going to be a long road, and the evidence is on our side that it makes sense to continue. And it'll just be a battle from Congress and the institutions that have been doing this for a long time. Because the importance, like I said, I don't know if $1 million or $1 billion, $750 million was the right amount that the U.S. should give to Central America for these issues. But what really hurts development is when we go up and down because we really take out the capacity from within the countries. So I think what's important is that we have a steady hand in continuing the advances.
Excellent.